Call the IT committee, I guess I'm not calling it order. It's 9:50, September 5th, IT committee, call the roll.
McTaggart?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Sure? Sticknut?
Yes.
We'll call the meeting to order now. We have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Seconded by Mr. Young. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have public comments. We have no public. Okay, discussion on action on weekly and action on weekly on-site visits. Oh, him, seconded by Mr. Young. Okay, discussion action on weekly on-site visits.
Sorry about missing out for last month.
We all
but-
cried, but we made it through.
Yeah, you guys made it through. So here is a report from the last 3 months for all our billable time. Because we discussed in the past that we wanted to review all billable time and also talk about our weekly on-site visits we've been having. The weekly on-site visits, I think, have been a success. The department heads really appreciate having someone on site every week to help with things that they basically haven't been asking or trying to figure out on their own. And since there's someone on site once a week, they feel comfortable enough to ask for help and get help with IT-related issues that they might not normally get help on. And issues that come up through the week, as long as they're not emergencies, get held off until that weekly visit. One of the other things we wanted to accomplish with the weekly on-site visits is to address maintenance tasks and maintenance items. And to be frank, we haven't had that much time to work on them because there have been so many IT requests and work to be done for the tech that comes on site. Notably, some of the things that he did was set up 5 workstations that were ordered for, let's see, the county clerk and vital records. So those are all things that we would have done anyways, but because we set up the weekly on site, we were able to do it during that time and save the county some money.
So this was what month did we decide that? June and July was the trial months?
July and August were when we had a weekly tech.
Okay. And it seemed like I had asked all you guys before, the department heads before, and everybody thought that was helpful. It sounded like, kind of like what Michael was saying. I guess where are our billable up? So June we had 6, were we having, I guess, were we seeing less billable hours as a result?
And that was not the intention. The intention is to see more billable hours with on-site. And so June was an oddity. 16 is pretty low for normal monthly hours. But July was a little higher, but there was an extra week in July. And then August is more of what I would expect to see on a normal basis, between 30 and 40 hours. So, so
That's more what I was getting at is we're using the time effectively, and you guys aren't.
Oh, yeah.
Aren't.
We don't.
We're not having a.
We're
I
not
guess
twiddling our thumbs.
when well, I understand that, but we're using the time when you are here and not having other calls and all that stuff.
From
We're
our office,
avoiding.
we only had one call out that
Outside
had
of
to be
that
done,
time.
and it had to do with the county email that had to be done right away, so.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was the issue with the provider, ICM.
That was one example. There was another example prior to that, but that we ended up not catching that until business hours for the most part, which was also which was actually the week prior. Do you, what was that attributed to?
I don't know what the issue, I didn't check on what was the email issue the week prior, but the email issue from last week was ICN DNS issues. ICN, the county domains are hosted and public DNS is hosted on ICN, and they were making server changes and had issues, and that caused the email issues that you had last week for sure. I'm not sure about the
There
week
was two
before.
calls, one at about 11:30 at night,
Mhm.
because I had caught the issue and made a phone call to you guys to
Yep.
find out what was going on. Is that related to the same
Yep.
problem?
Yeah, that was the same problem. Both calls, the evening and the next morning. And then we're just wanting to see if we want to continue doing the weekly on-site visits at the reduced rate. And that's a monthly commitment, so if anything changes, that can be canceled in the future if needed.
Okay, so probably what's really up for discussion is the rest of this fiscal year, and then obviously the budget stuff. Well, I mean, kind of for this group, if we're gonna continue with this, we need to make a decision for September, October, or November. Theoretically, which we could cancel at any time, like he said.
I think it's, my feeling is it's probably something that we wanna do to get, and partly to get further along the path of evaluating its
Right.
merits, but one thing that Michael is saying and what you're saying is a little different. If I understood it correctly, your thinking was that this would ultimately lead to a reduction in our costs. Michael is saying more billable hours.
Yeah.
My understanding was similar to yours, that ultimately it would lead to more efficient addressing the issues that we have, which should lead ultimately to lower costs for the county, as opposed to having to call somebody out for each time a problem occurs. So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's something we should have a clear understanding about before we do decide to do anything, as to if our goal is to have
I mean,
more efficient use of the time and ultimately a reduction in our cost per se.
do we have over time, what do we roughly, prior to this, what were we averaging per month, like, over a year's time, how many hours per month, on average?
Yeah, we discussed that
I know.
previously.
I think I missed that
And I
meeting.
probably didn't I think you weren't there. I'd have to dig around for it. I know we discussed it and we had a number.
Sure.
But I don't have that in front of me.
It was pretty close to the 1 day a week, I think, was something that we thought would cover things, and apparently it seems to be working that way.
Yeah.
I just think if we should continue it to further evaluate the merits of it,
We're trying to juggle a couple balls with coming on site. I think I mentioned to Jill as well, when we say on-site technician, it doesn't mean we have to come on site. It just means there is enough work in the county to invest a day's worth of work to get tasks completed. And some of those tasks just frankly haven't been done because we've been holding back on it. So when I mentioned that I expect more time to be used, it's because we're addressing those things we haven't been making a priority. But because there's a reduced rate, we can kill two birds with one stone. Is yes, the billable hours might go up, but the rate's reduced, and we can address items that have been put on the back burner. So we're juggling. We're trying to make this do a lot and save the county some money. But and it's also another ball that's up in the air. Is this is in replacement of having IT staff in the county as well to meet the needs that a staff member, IT staff would meet if one was on the payroll. So, a lot of
Well, I understand, but to a certain degree, I get what you're saying, but not, we got rid of an IT So for the last, however long you guys been here, 8, 9 years, whatever, or whatever that number is, 6, IT person was gone in the name of having you, and for that many years up till this point, we didn't have a person here. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, or maybe this is better, but I don't know that the idea that we would also have an IT person on site in place of this is kind of, we're almost doubling from where we've been for the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, and well, my big thing is when Anita's here, she would do a lot of coordination and maybe do some of these tasks
Sure.
that and she's not here, and that is something that having an on-site technician can be have more visibility on those type of needs for the county.
Yep.
There were, in 17, there were 310 hours. And in 18, I made notes from
Oh.
June, 235. Let's see,
Total.
all of 17 was 310 hours, all of 2018 was 235. And at the IT committee meeting in June, and for 19, we were at 91 hours for the year.
Thank you.
And it looks like 3/4 of those hours probably were
So now
done
we're,
remotely.
so we're, on 17 then we average 26 hours a month. If I take those numbers by 12, 26 hours a month, and 18 we average 20 hours a month. And we're getting charged what, 6.5 hours times 52 weeks divided by 12. That's 338 hours, about 26 hours.
But we don't have to have them here every week if we
Sure.
don't want to.
Sure. It's not that far off the 2017 number, for what that's worth.
I think there's another.
And there's some value, undoubtedly, that there's probably stuff that wasn't getting done and things that are slipping through the cracks because we,
And that's what I was gonna say, I think there's an intangible benefit to that, in that having everybody's system up and working, we can not only make that person more efficient, but also reduce any downtime and any additional expense that might be related to that. So, and there's no way to measure what that would be, but I certainly think it's there. It's just going forward, if we get
so,
caught up. in-
refresh my memory on what was the rate per hour, or I guess I can do the math here, but 70 versus what's the normal 90? Or
We might want to
talk about
skip
that.
forward to the labor rate change. So it is now $100 an hour, the standard rate change,
But you're gonna stay at the 70 on this?
Mhm.
Okay.
which makes it more of a value.
Right, okay. I would say, in light of that, we need probably, my recommendation would probably be, let's continue on for the rest of this fiscal year and make a motion for that and continue to see how it works, but I think, seems like all the department heads have said it's an improvement, and hopefully we get to the point where we're able to do some of those maintenance things after you get caught up with this stuff, and name that it's gonna save us $30 an hour, and we're basically not much more on hours than the 2017 number. That's $9,000 a year on the rate per hour, but I mean, for 300 hours, right? So,
But it's up to Jill and Amanda to monitor the need, and if
Right.
the need isn't there.
and I think we talked about some of that I mean, Michael wasn't here, we talked about it in finance, but this idea that there was some visit with what was that for, when they had to come out special in July, Smart Water, whatever that stuff was. We didn't get that coordinated probably like we should, just making sure we're using that day for those kind of things and getting that, so we don't have to have a special trip, so.
Yeah, and SmartWatt, specifically, it's not 100% done, but we've been doing some of that additional troubleshooting on Tuesday as well, and waiting for Tuesday to follow up on that particular task.
Speaking of which, didn't we talk about going back to them and asking SmartWatt about the cost associated with
It
having
ended
them
up-
come out, or
it-
how did
yeah.
that?
It ended up being $67.50. That was for the SmartWatt visit, so, and that's just, the portion of that claim that went towards.
Okay,
I'm not sure of all the details in that situation either, but one of the things that was reported to me was the ability that Chris Drake had in controlling all of the different things, and I think what he said he wound up doing was hooking all everything up to a different computer, and he had some guy from down in Florida helping him with that, and I guess he's got it in a situation now where it's working. Not what he originally thought it would be or the way it was intended, but it's workable, so.
okay. Any other comments from you guys, Joe, Paul, or Marvin?
Where do we stand on the server replacements?
So the last thing we mentioned for server upgrades is the Exchange server upgrade, and we were waiting to confirm what mailboxes aren't needed anymore. There was committee email mailboxes that we discussed that might not be needed, and that would be a cost savings if we can confirm we can delete those mailboxes, and I think we're down to 3. That was one of the things I wanted to mention. I think we're down to 3, so at this point, I think we
got my
can.
last 2 answers today, so. I'll send
Perfect.
those off to you today.
Yeah, but, if, we were talking 15, now we're down to 3, I think it's time to just finalize that pricing. I'll send that over to Jill and Amanda so they can get approved, get the final approval. So, and then we can get going on the Exchange upgrade. And then I'll mention the other upgrades as well in a bit.
So those were the two $1,600 servers that we approved, and then,
Right, and nothing's been done with them yet because we're waiting on the mailbox audit.
so,
And you weren't there for that approval, Michael. but-
Oh, we had to reapprove it, because the bid was, your original bid wasn't right?
That's for the switch replacement, probably.
right, that's what I was after.
Yeah, that's-
The switch replacement, there, we made a mistake on the cost, and there was a higher cost. We did find a different model of switch that was cost savings, it was still a little bit higher, and we got those price changes completed, the switches are in, and we're getting the switches scheduled on the Tuesday to
Okay.
get put in.
Very good.
Speaking of the email boxes,
Yep.
I noticed when it has the county board members listed in their telephone numbers and their emails. When I click on the emails, it doesn't do anything.
That's on the website.
Yeah,
We can check on that, probably a bad link that needs to be fixed.
but it seems like none of them work.
Yeah, on the website, if it's not formatted correctly, it might that should be a quick fix. So we can work with Jill and Amanda to check on that, and that's on the website. Okay.
Okay,
Getting back to the extension of the once
Yes.
a week deal, I'd like to make a motion to extend that through September, October, and November of this year.
okay. We have a motion to extend the weekly maintenance monthly commitment for the months of September, October, and November with area-wide for the once a week visit for 6.5 hours? Why is it 6? We said 6 hours in the thing, and then it says 6.5 hours, I noticed.
That was for travel time,
Okay,
and by the time we get out here and everything, and we charge some of those hours is for the travel time charge, and then the rest of the time that the technician will be there.
okay. So we have a motion, do we have a second? Any other discussion about it? Not, we'll take a vote.
Young,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Sure,
Yes.
Sticknut,
Yes.
McTaggart.
Yes. Okay, that's done. Then I think next we had the labor rate change, which you kind of already alluded to.
Area-wide, it hasn't made any increases, rate changes for quite a while, and it was that time. So we have been making rate changes with all our clients to compensate for inflation. So if you guys have any questions about that, but yeah, it's going from the standard rate. Only the standard rate is going from 90 to 100 an hour.
Effective by
I don't know. That's a great question.
first of the year.
I know Jeff sent that email to Jill and
23rd.
Amanda. I'd have to grab that. That's a good question though.
First of the year.
Yeah, January 1st.
January 1st, okay. So it won't take effect until next year. Thank you.
Hopefully, we can keep doing everything on Tuesday, and that'll not be a major issue. Okay? Guess
Other-
that's that. On that, Michael, did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about before we get back to, probably need to talk about Bob's issue?
Yeah, and that would be new business. Under other IT issues and old business, I'll try not to bore you guys. But since I missed last time, we do have a couple of items here. We talked about getting a 5-year plan on budget considerations and equipment replacement. I have some of that information here for you guys to go over. This is a living document, so I definitely see this document getting more in-depth and adjusting since it's a 5-year. Again, things will change on it, but this is, and the last page there, I definitely want to get more detailed and get dollar amounts included. So I definitely, I'm not saying this is the last draft on this, so I definitely want to make this more useful for the board, but this is something that was requested, and I wanted to make sure we get something in the hands for considering for next year's budget. I'm guessing if there's no questions, it's something that can be reviewed
Okay,
later
yeah.
and we can discuss.
So right now, remind me, Jill, what do you have you worked with him on like all the license fees and all that stuff for next year and what that, all that? Because that's a big
This
number.
This is a part of it, and we can get more exact.
So
numbers
we're gonna,
on that.
more than likely, Michael, you don't necessarily need to be here, but that end of the week of the 15th or the beginning of the week of the 22nd, more than likely, we're gonna have another finance meeting just for the budget and
And
those-
IT
especially
as a
we
budget?
need, yeah, we really, those licenses and all those fees and stuff are a massive number, so we
Yep.
need, before that date, so here in the next week, 2 weeks here,
And
we
that's,
need to get that number nailed down, and then if we're gonna,
for the next next fiscal
What?
year,
for, after
2019.
December 1 forward, yes,
December.
what we call 2020, yep.
I can work with Jill and Amanda
Yeah.
to get.
So we definitely, those licenses and all those big, whatever, that's the bulk of the budget most of the time. And that, and then I guess we need to get clear on, so to me, that's the big one, and then we need to, it looks like you got a couple things here that, from a, more of a capital perspective, things that need to be done, that we're gonna have to get straight on that, if we're gonna have those in there, or do those, or whatever, but maybe just run through those, because that's probably the biggest issue, consideration right now. It looks like, just going to your back page, you have, in year 2020, Windows 10 upgrades, SAN replacement, EPS replacement, storage switch replacement, backup server replacement.
Yeah,
Can
and
you give us-
these are recommendations,
Sure.
depending on the budget, depending on
Right.
what is there. Those things may have to be adjusted and changed, but this is the technical recommendations on the replacement and upgrades.
Can you just talk us through each of those line items real quick, and then we probably are gonna need for that next meeting as well, not only the license and stuff, but dollar figures for each of
Yep.
those, so we can decide what we're gonna.
According to what he's got here, it adds up to, for the coming year, almost a six-figure number.
Yeah, if you look at the second page, the
Okay.
life cycle considerations for 2020, there are some dollar estimates. I can
Okay,
put that on the chart as well to make it easier
yeah,
to
okay,
to review. But, these are technical recommendations. Nothing's breaking. The switches that we just replaced were because of issues. All these replacements are not because something's breaking, but it's a good recommendations to keep the IT environment in a good state. The ones of note that are security risk would be, and we've talked about these before, we're already working on Exchange server, would be the second half of the second page, would be the Windows server upgrades, and the Exchange, of course, we're doing, and then the Windows 10, Windows 7 upgrades. Those would be the priority for the budget, depending on.
and do you have numbers on those, or?
We've talked about them before,
I know.
and I can work
But I
with
mean, the number
Jill.
for 2020 is
Yep,
what I'm getting
Yep,
at, so
we can definitely.
we definitely need those, because those ones almost have to be done.
Yep,
And then-
so the server, it would be more of a IT budget on the Windows client, Windows 10, Windows 7. I think last year, the departments worked in their budgets with replacing workstations, and we talked about doing it again this year. On the Windows 10 clients, we can, depending on budgetary needs, we can push that back, and there'll be a maintenance cost, a small maintenance cost versus a total replacement. So we have options on the last part there. But yeah, we can get more specifics. So
I do
basically,
think like all the workstations, people have money in their budgets already for, they think they need
right,
Yeah.
a computer.
right.
So that's not really a big.
So I'm
a big
hoping the
concern for us,
workstations
but-
will work themselves out with the
Yeah, I
department
think so.
budgets. So it'd be more of the, on this list than to make sure we can meet the budget and not lose any, having security issues would be the server, the Windows server, which we want to prioritize on the budget to make sure that gets done. Which, again, we're already doing the Exchange upgrade this year already.
So is that, this 10 to 15 that you have under the Windows life, server lifestyle, is
Yep.
that
That's a ballpark,
ballpark for what that's gonna be?
yeah,
Okay,
for those servers.
okay, so we know that number, so that's kinda, we gotta get in there.
But I can work with
And then-
Jill and Amanda on.
And then on these
on
ones that are more
numbers.
kinda, you need to do them eventually, but a little more flexibility, we could, you guys can get some numbers up, or, well, you got numbers, but we need to.
And if it's helpful, I can come to that meeting, to help work out the budget and make things work. Any questions on that?
Don't think so. Does anybody else have anything?
Here are two pricing items that we've talked. One is a new item and one is we've been working on. And so the first page and the second page. On the first page is a license renewal. So me and Jill can go through it. That's for in case anyone has questions, but that's the email security training awareness product that gets renewed once a year. So we can make sure that gets in the budget. This should be covered under the HAVA grant, so it shouldn't even need to be in the budget. We'll just have to check on that. So that's the first page. The second page is the website redesign. The IT committee board has talked to Pixo about a website redesign and got pricing from them. I went to another website vendor in Champaign that we've worked with in the past, and our talks didn't go anywhere. The interest wasn't enough. This here would be if Area Wide would do the work on the website rebuild. And you can see it's over 20,000. The main reason that the price is very significant is the website has a lot of content. We wrote down how much content the website has, and it's a lot of data, and it has to be manually transferred to a new website. We have not found a process yet where we can automate it to save on labor. So that's a discussion point that we can have here. More discussions on the website upgrade. We've talked in the past how the website is outdated. The programming that it was configured with the vendor that set it up for the county is outdated and not, as far as we know, not able to be transferred easily to a new website. There are outdated plugins that could be hacked potentially and has been hacked in the past. So we've been looking at pricing. We've been doing this dance for a while, but we've been looking at different pricing options for upgrading the website.
And refresh my memory on that other one. What was, and that wasn't even that wasn't even all of the costs, that quote we got, but it was.
That was Pixel Technologies. They quoted roughly 18,000 for a new website redesign. So from the ground up, talking to all the department heads, collecting all the information, putting up a demo website and getting everything ready to build a brand new website from the ground up. And so for 18,000, and that was estimate, they would do all that work and get all that data collected. And then there would be an additional cost to actually build the website. This cost here would just be taking the website from point A to point B and making no changes. So we're literally just, and we can't do it automatically, so that's the cost of the labor. We'd have to pay someone to have the old website on one page, the new one on another, and literally move each page over to the new website. There's advantages. It's not, once we do that in this proposal, there would be options for more customization, for more features. It's not a part of the cost, but once you move over to a new website, then you have a lot of flexibility there. One thing I was brainstorming with this cost is if the county could say, hey, we have these many posts on our webpage, these many pages. If we don't want to move those over, if we would just want to delete them, then there would be we could cut costs that way as well. So that's I wanted to present that option there. I can definitely try to contact other website vendors to get more pricing options, but we at least wanted to get something else.
When you say events in these posts, these are like when you guys make a post that the meeting minutes are out there and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, couldn't we just have a page where all the meeting minutes are just posted on there, kind of like it already is? Yeah.
So overall, this is the least cost.
Copy every time
One.
there was a.
So far, it's the least cost. Yep.
Compared
Compared to
starting
the
from
first quote that the city's
Now
got.
it's 18,000, you gotta add on that.
Saying that costs us money. I mean, for each of those, you're saying for each of those posts, every time, okay, the meeting minutes are now posted, you're gonna go back in time and remove all those?
So all those posts are still on the website. I don't have the specifics, but let's say there's 5 years of posts.
Right.
So we take
all 5 years.
everyone all 5 years. So if we could say, hey, we don't need that much on the website, then that cost would go down, and you wouldn't have that much content, but you'd be adding the new content.
I mean, to me, I'd put all the meeting minutes on one page and just upload them in one spot or something, I don't know.
So
And all the meeting minutes are in one spot.
Well, yeah, and you're right, so, but I mean, do we need to know what the maybe there's some legal reason, but I mean, the posting of the meeting agenda from 5 years ago for the finance committee, I mean,
How
Well,
long
the
do those
agendas are
need
in
to be
one
on a
spot
public
also.
website?
I know, but there's all
The
those
only-
individual
The
posts.
only
Individual
agendas that are
posts,
on the
I mean-
website are for the county board meetings. There's no committee agendas that are saved at any length of time.
If,
The minutes of the county board meeting, which includes our minutes of all the different committee meetings, are on the website, going back to, I think it's 2004. And then the agendas are also the same. You can go back and click on any one of those agendas or minutes. I mean, I've found in some cases the minutes are helpful in researching how we did
Right.
something and so forth, but other than that,
Well, I guess what I was getting at is, it says there's 1,400 posts and 2,028 events, what's a,
So I think what you're thinking, like if I go and post that there's a snow removal bid.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think that, I mean, I could go back and recreate something like that myself, or Brian in her spare time could go back and recreate something like that if it's necessary.
the thing I'm thinking
it just
is,
seems like some of that information, I don't know that we need to carry forward. I mean, it was relevant at the time, and obviously the meeting minutes and important things like that should be there, but the fact that the office was closed on January 22nd of 2004, I mean, who cares? You know, because of snow or something, I mean, if stuff like that's
Yeah,
getting
that would
copied
be
over, I
something
mean,
posted up, yeah, that would be something.
and I'm not sure about the regulations, but, I'm assuming all the data that's on the website, there's a copy of it on the servers or printed out somewhere, so if there is a need to.
well, I think all the meeting
to get
minutes and all that stuff obviously need to remain out there, but you put them on one page like you said, like they are now, and you click on the link and done, but read
you can. get-
every post that's ever been made or whatever, a job posting from 2008, I mean, I don't know that we need to repost all that back out there, I mean,
You can get a copy of any meeting minutes in the county clerk's office in that binding bound form, but just having it on the website makes it more convenient for anybody in anywhere that wants to look at it.
well, I
to
think
have it
that's
come.
fine, I
And
mean,
that's,
stuff like that seems, okay, maybe like, yeah, we should have that out there, but
And
there's
how,
some other
how
stuff
much
that-
do we want out there? Do
Right.
we want 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years?
one thing I guess I got a question about is there's a number of links to other organizations on there. Is that something that complicates the thing? Is that something we should, that doesn't?
That's, that is part of the pages, and it's, wouldn't complicate anything.
Okay.
I'm just trying to think that if we can scale it.
The
I
posts
guess-
and the
I guess
events are
we'd
the,
have to identify the things that, could be eliminated and examine them.
yeah, if we could, get a list of what would need to be, moved to a new website, then we can re-quote it and talk about it again.
I think you got.
But you
You
got
basically have that now, don't you? There's
2,028
one
events.
page
I
for all the
mean,
meeting
if
minutes
that's,
are for, like, going back in
if
history,
that's
isn't
what
there?
we're talking about, listing the
Yeah.
upcoming events.
Okay, so yeah, we need
that's
that
been on
page.
there.
Yeah, so this would be the
That
calendar.
page is important,
Yeah, that's.
Right.
But-
One for that, there's one for.
but
agendas.
having like all those,
Serves the purpose.
Yeah.
You don't need all those.
Once the meeting is held.
you used to have a link that says
Yeah.
here's all the old meeting
The-
minutes.
the way they have it
All the
now is
posts
they've
saying,
never gotten rid
"The
of it."
meeting minutes have been posted, you know, like, oh, I totally agree with that, which is what I'm taking this posts and events as,
Right.
like 2,000 events.
No, you're right,
The
that's
latest
saying like in
information.
January of some year, we closed because.
We closed the office because it snowed today, we don't need to redo all that stuff.
But any event.
Have a link under the county board that says, here's all the meeting minutes, that you can go, that takes you right to there, and then all the historic ones are still there, but we don't need all the old posts saying, the meeting minutes from January have been posted, I mean, all those old posts don't need to be there.
And really, once an event takes place, there's no need to
Right.
continue to have it.
But we should have the meeting minutes and that information should still remain, that's
Yeah.
important, but the posts,
I see at least,
These
it
events-
goes back, the events at least goes back to 2011.
and the events are like what I'm talking about, these things
The
that,
calendar events.
calendar events.
Yep.
Post the county calendar in one spot for every year, and you don't need an event for every time it was updated, you know, I mean, if we wanna make that
For historical.
historical.
You
yeah.
definitely want to keep.
Yeah,
it
and then going forward, you can
Yeah.
make posts and stuff like that, that's fine, but I mean, to go back in time and
Recreate it.
seems silly.
If there's a need to keep some records like that, they can be printed out and kept in the county clerk's office or the county board office.
I'd say
I don't see where.
no different than what it is now. There's a page for the meeting minutes, there's, for all the historical meeting minutes. Under the county board tab at the top, you make a link to county board meeting minutes, and they're all, you go right to them, it's one page.
That's what it is now.
Well, it is, but we don't need all these events
No.
linking you
you're right.
back to there. Get rid of them all.
I'm showing all the way back in 2008.
Can you guys meet with him maybe and just see if we got, what is, it might be easier to say, what do we really need?
Right. What we
Instead of what we don't need, and
Maybe
Yeah.
want to include county clerk's office, and make sure that.
maybe, yeah, I mean, if you guys could get together sometime and scale that back and then see, okay, I mean, quite frankly, old events, I don't know why we need them at all, I mean, so that, if that's 2028 old events that they're gonna copy back, I hope we can get rid of 98% of that, and hopefully that'll bring the cost down and
Yep.
make this more manageable.
And then we can review the posts and see if some of those are
Same with the
also
posts too.
redundant. Do you need a post from 2008,
Probably not.
or do you just need it for the last 2 years, you know?
I think if you guys sat down and went through that,
I think once an event takes place, you should delete it.
as long as we're posting the pertinent information that, okay, people, like you said, you might wanna go back and look at the meeting minutes from 2004, fine, but leave it the way it is right now. There's a link where you can clearly get to that. Well, if we can get rid of those 1,400 posts in the 2000 events, or 98% of them, then I'm sure Michael will get the cost under $5,000.
Hey,
See
see what we
We're gonna make this so easy, he won't have a choice to make it cheaper.
Can we research companies that do this for county governments that specialize in this?
I can keep looking to get another competitive quote, yeah. Again, this is just us doing it. I did talk to another company in Champaign that didn't work out. I can keep digging. So we can work on this and then also try to get another competitive quote.
I Googled it a couple months ago and a couple of them popped up.
Well, if you got any idea, tell him or somebody from the committee contacts him or whatever's the right way, I mean.
All right. Any more questions on that?
I just wanna make sure me and Kurt have big ideas as far as putting more information on there, that new web page and be able to handle all that data.
Since we're trying to keep the website update to security only, the new website wouldn't necessarily have all the new features included. Like I said, it may be able to do what we need.
These would basically be new add-ons, you have to develop the website first, and then there'd be links to get on, because
Right.
DevNet has a very attractive tax inquiry and GIS link that really puts out a lot of data that they just download from DevNet across, over to the
Yeah.
link. And then that, they click on that, I don't know if it's just the link that does it, or if it's something. I
Would
think
it be
the
kinda
big
like how the
issue-
GIS
big-
works now?
The big issue with the old website was the bandwidth, right?
The big issue with the website right now is it's out of date
Right.
with security modules and
And it wouldn't handle the links to that, maybe those larger data systems, so.
sometimes when they upload documents, there's issues with bandwidth and size requirements. So there definitely would be improvement of life with the update, but this would be step one. Including new content or redesign would be another.
Those would be additional costs, but
Yep.
that's the stuff that we talked about.
But this would be definitely the first step
Right.
to get there.
I just wanna make sure it's gonna be compatible to do that,
We,
to upgrade.
yep, if we wanna make sure it's compatible, we'd have to talk to DevNet and GIS and make sure whatever we go to is compatible.
Well, that'd
That
probably
would
be
be-
important too, if you
that'd
guys
be
can get
important.
together and talk about that. That's probably important because most people don't care about the county board minutes, but they might care about looking at their property tax stuff. And so I think we definitely need to make that doable down the road.
Just an update on the HVA grant. Lisa's been working on submitting previous invoices for approval and payment. So we're at a point where we can start doing that now. So that's an update for that part. Jill, did you want me to discuss phones or leave that for another day?
If you would
It'd
like
just
to, you
be a
can,
quick
but
mention, we don't
yeah,
have to
you
dig
gotcha.
into it. We talked about budget planning for phone upgrade in the future. So there is a quote for the existing telephone company to upgrade the admin building. I was able to have one of our phone partners come out and do a new inventory to make sure we have a list of the current number of phones. And they also provided a quote for internet phones. It would be a different technology than what you're currently using for phones, but that is the way that phones are going. Phones are going IP-based. Basically, they function like a computer would, or a smartphone would. So they provided a quote for that for review and future discussions on phone upgrades for the future. I think we mentioned everything's working fine with the phones. Nothing's broke, but we want to make sure we plan in the future. I think we mentioned 2 or 3 years in the future for those costs. The one thing that might be nice with the phones is we've been talking about moving the internet connection to ICN because there would be a cost savings there. And I've been working with AT&T to coordinate that because AT&T not only provides your internet, but they also provide your phone service for the phone system. So we don't want to mess up your phones when we try to save you money on the internet. But one nice thing about this type of technology with the phones is that you don't need AT&T. It runs entirely off the internet, so you can eliminate the AT&T phone bill, which for some clients we have found is a cost savings. You would have to purchase new phones, but we're already talking about purchasing new phones in 2 to 3 years. So, so I just want to mention that we're looking at that. I'm still working with AT&T about the internet change to save the county money as well. So we're trying to kill a couple birds with one stone. And that's everything on my list.
How many phones are there? Did it say?
Yep.
102.
The county has 102. That includes the admin building, the courthouse building, and the highway department. I'm not sure if they would be included, but we did that for the quote. What is not included is 911, the jail, and the sheriff. They are on a completely different phone system, and I'm assuming they want to stay that way for the time being. I did talk to, is it Records that's in with the sheriff's department, Sandy? She said it would be nice if they got county phones. They're on the sheriff phone system, so they can't, call within the county phone system very easily. And that would be a possibility with this phone system.
There is an organizational challenge with that because their lines are recorded.
Not with the records, I believe, but the sheriffs that are. We'd have to check.
6992 and 6993 are recorded by our system.
Yep.
I don't know what other phones they have, but we'll have to double check those extensions. So.
Yeah, but that would be like a bonus, to get them on the courthouse. And then the Veterans Department mentioned that their phones haven't worked right for quite a while. So a phone upgrade would give them some more feature, more usability with the phone system. So it's something to discuss in the future and potentially a cost savings for the county.
So do we know when our contract on bandwidth is up with AT&T?
That is one of the things I'm digging with. I had to find their current sales rep, and I got a hold of her recently, and she's getting that information.
Okay. So we don't have a copy of the contract anymore.
I'm sure there's a copy of it in my office, I can find it.
Yeah, we got a copy of the latest bills, but we couldn't find anything on there with contract information.
And the last thing we want to happen is this contract auto renews for another 36 months or who knows how long, because I'm sure it's old.
That's true. Yeah,
Yep.
AT&T isn't exactly the
All
easiest
of it,
company
we
to
got
work with.
several contracts with them and they don't all expire at the same time.
No, I'm still waiting on 2 contracts now.
And that's another thing with internet, ICN is cheaper, but I don't wanna get stuck paying 2 internet bills. So we wanna coordinate that, and I've been, gathering that information. So, but, yeah, so we got a current inventory of phones and 2 quotes for a future phone upgrade, so, for review and discussion.
So on this quote, is there a monthly recurring fee on top of this $34,000?
Yep, so discuss this one, the equipment upgrade with plus fees is 36, so that's the one time of 36, and then the monthly cost would be the 1,500 there. But again, that would replace AT&T, and you're paying AT&T around or at least 1,000 a month already, so. And we're gonna have to verify that could be lower or higher, so. But this would not only include what you're already paying AT&T, but it would include all the phone features that you don't have, or some that you already do. It would pay for lifetime service and replacement on the phone, so that means no more paying. And I don't know how many truck rolls the county pays for the phone provider right now. To fix phone issues, there might not be a lot, but this cut, we've seen in other counties where, they have a truck roll, once a month or more than that. That's all included in this, service cost, so that's a nice.
And upgrading
feature.
the phones?
And upgrade, it's a lifetime, yep.
Okay.
So if, you never have to buy it, after you do this, as long as you stick with this company, you never buy a new phone, unless you want a new phone. So that are cost savings for counties, because you don't have truck rolls, you don't have equipment replacement. And it is a monthly cost, but, it usually replaces what you're already paying the phone, carrier anyways.
Okay.
It's a nice.
I think what would be helpful before that budget meeting is not only get those license fees and those couple items we talked about that we had to have for 2020, but if you could also give them,
Yep.
like you had mentioned, make that kind of projection of what this thing, make it so
Put some
we
cost-
put some dollars next to it. I know none of them are perfect, but just so we know what's coming down the pipeline, and it might be helpful just to know where we're at.
Super.
Just even to be able to look down a couple of years and make sure we're not just keep kicking the can down the road and we're spacing things out so that,
We don't want it all to come.
yeah, we don't wanna
crashing
keep,
down.
oh yeah, we'll do that next year, and then they all stack up on top of each other.
Exactly.
Okay. Anything else on the old business or
Old-
IT?
No.
Okay, then we go to new business. Bob's problem, the
The
payroll.
payroll, what do we wanna call it? It's not a hack, payroll, spoof or payroll attack.
John?
At the P&P meeting last Thursday, a week ago, we adopted some changes in the personnel policy manual on page 108, which covers the personal data and so forth. Basically, what it's gonna amount to, right, is that any request in any of the data, whether it's your home address, your direct deposit, your telephone number, whatever it's gonna be, must be presented in writing to the county HR person, which is Amanda. When she receives that, she's gonna verify it. Hopefully with a personal confrontation, but if that isn't possible, it may be with a telephone, but in any case, it will be verified. So if you're gonna make a change in any of these things, it has to be submitted to her in writing. And then she will not accept that as gospel, she's gonna verify it. And that's on her to do that, not the, I mean, we're gonna make the employees aware of it. We'll send, after the meeting next Tuesday, we can send a notice out to every department head about the change in policy and so forth. But nevertheless, it's on Amanda to make sure that it's, those, you know, that that's clarified and handled in that way, so we won't have that situation in the future. It's just an unfortunate case where, you know, hackers are gonna find loopholes in everything in every way they can, and we're gonna have to do whatever we can to stay a step ahead of them or react when they do something. It's pretty hard to, you know, I mean, I had thought one of the things we might consider doing is to make every employee appear before her in person to make any of these kind of changes, but I think that's a difficult thing to accomplish. So it's in writing, but it would, preferably would be to come in person.
Right.
And meet with her and tell her what the change might have to be, because that simplifies the whole process and takes away any guesswork out of it.
Right.
So,
Okay.
but to hope that the board will approve that, and on Tuesday, that's where we're going.
After that happened, I looked in the best practices, the HR best practices, and that's something that a lot of the companies have taken on, that exact same policy to protect themselves. So this is on par with what everyone else is doing, policy-wise.
Okay.
And then this is just another good reminder of the email security training awareness. We send out those emails once a month. A fake email, in case someone does click on it, they get a banner explaining why they shouldn't have clicked on it, and educational tips. Educational email goes out once a month to all county staff, providing information about email security, IT training, just generic. It's random email goes out. I don't. I check it once in a while, but I don't tell it what goes out. It's just a random one. We had one sent out last month. We did have a couple people click on it, but again, we'd rather have use that as a training. That is a training opportunity to have people be more aware of watching what comes in their email inbox. And then we were talking to Jill about sending some more direct emails to make more opportunities for training. Again, we're not trying to trick people, but we're trying to make them aware that they need to look at the email and look for any signs that this would be a spoofed or fraudulent email, and to have constant vigilance to keep yourself and the county secure by watching emails.
Did any of the people that clicked on last month be repeaters?
I'll have to check. And that's something that we haven't enforced yet. We haven't enforced training on people who have clicked on the test emails. That's something that we can do. We can the system will automatically send them an email and say, hey, here's some additional training, please complete it, and I'll send a report if they completed or if they haven't. The system can automate all that. We just haven't had that turned on yet.
No, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but when you gave us that list a few months ago, I did discuss it with one individual. He thinks it's a joke, and he's clicking on them just to.
Well, I would make sure they don't, because we get the report.
It's a pretty immature thing, but I mean, that's what he responded to me when I brought it up.
No, we recommend them, if something looks phony or a joke or fraudulent, to never click on it, even if it's a test email, and that's what we want everyone to be doing. We don't want that report coming back that they clicked on that link on the email. But yeah, we can definitely work more with the department heads because there's additional training videos and content on this service that the department heads can send out to their team And then we can also set up a process where someone does click on the email, they get enrolled in, you know, a 30-minute video or something like that. We just haven't turned that part on.
I would like to see some reports for that. I have a recent experience and it's just passed around, but I had to click on it. And the only reason why I knew about it was because they were like, hey, do you know what this is? And they clicked on it. I'm like, this was a test spoof email. They caught you. And to be completely honest, it felt like 1 year in, 1 year out. It did not sufficiently scare them to understand that you could have legitimately caused a lot of damage.
No, I mean, the great thing is the number of clickers that we've seen in the past have been very low. That's great. But the problem is it just takes one.
And that's exactly it. I mean, this one was well done with what happened, but that they didn't feel the repercussions of what could have legitimately happened to the county, to our 911 center, and so on. And I feel it's a very big gap. So if there are additional training materials, especially reporting, so I can at least try and get a better handle of what's happening with it, I would really love to see that, because what we do is very, very important.
What's going on now?
I probably should send.
Is the managers getting a report or something?
Department's heads has access into it. We've talked to in the past. I probably should be more regular on sending emails out for offering assistance with getting the department heads into it and using it. That maybe got pushed to back a little bit. So that's out there, but we haven't been pushy about it, basically. So we can
Pushy, please.
we can get pushy. Yeah. So I'll make that.
Probably should.
And that's something that the on-site tech can also do. They can come by and assist department heads with using this great tool that the county's already paying for. So I can put that on his to-do list as like, a maintenance thing, is to check in with department heads and say, hey, do you want help with this?
That'd be great.
Definitely.
Thanks.
Please, thank you.
Okay. And that, we need to put in the budget that training stuff, but there's the grant that offsets it, so.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that
hopefully
looks on
it's
the
a
budget, but
net zero
Those things.
situation, but we need to, whatever needs to be done, that, make sure we get that done. Okay, anything else? Not, take a motion to adjourn. Mr. Scher. Joe, seconded. All in favor? Aye.
a little over an hour.